Continuing, coming in at number three is Whoopi Goldberg. We got to have a Whoopi Goldberg, okay? We cannot do a video series without the legendary, great Whoopi Goldberg up in this bitch. I mean, Sister Act 2. She got to be in a Tales from the Crypt movie. She got to be in The Color Purple. I mean, come on. It's Whoopi Goldberg here. She has some hits in the 80s and the 90s. And she got to be in How Stella Got Her Groove. I mean, she got to be in so many movies, and she also got to be in Star Trek. Do you know how hard it is to get into a franchise? She got to be in a Star Trek movie. She got to pop up on two different television shows of Star Trek. That's the stuff of legend. I mean, seeing this as a kid, I mean, and the fact that she could just make anything work. She took the things that never worked and actually made fun of them and started laughing. You look at Sister Act and Sister Act 2, those were some good movies. I mean, those were some good movies. I mean, she opened the doors, and if it weren't for Whoopi Goldberg, I mean this, if it weren't for Whoopi Goldberg, you probably would have never got no Monique, and the girl that was in, what's that romantic comedy movie? I forgot her damn name, but she said it's Booty Hole. Y'all know what romantic comedy movie I'm talking about. If it weren't for Whoopi Goldberg, none of these women would have ever came into the game. Whoopi Goldberg made it easy for black women to come in and do comedy. And said, if the men can do it, I can do it. So you gotta show the woman some respect and some credit. She's a legend. She's on the show called The View. I mean, she should get her own show. That's just my opinion. Coming in at number two is the man Eddie Murphy. Now, Eddie Murphy was on the last video at number one, but we have to put him on here too because it's Eddie Murphy. He got to be on Saturday Night Live. Not too many people can be on Saturday Night Live. And a lot of those characters from all his movies, they were on Saturday Night Live before they made it into film. Like Trading Spaces, Coming to America, 48 Hours. Those characters were already created before they got into the movies. And he became, if not the first, the second actor in history to have multiple characters in all his movies. Like the Clumps, he were kind of already creating the Clumps before he even made them into movies. A lot of people don't realize that. Well, you watch the movies, but you didn't. What you don't know is he were already creating those characters. And it's a shame that today nobody really thinks about those characters. They just figure, oh, there were the movies. No, he done those before the characters came. In a way, he kind of was Tyler Perry before you got Tyler Perry because he was playing characters of men, women, young and old, black or white, and he was doing it on Saturday Night Live. If it weren't Freddie Murphy, there would be no Chris Rock. There would be no Tyler Perry. All those guys came later. Eddie Murphy was the guy that kind of started it all. You know, the PJs cartoon, it was like, what if you took Coming to America and the Clumps, you got the PJs. And he was giving that show its boost ratings. It was getting episodes, it got a movie. I mean, he was just doing things with that show that you just couldn't believe. And he got to do Shrek, which really made him have a comeback. And he's coming out with Coming to America Part 2. Hopefully he comes us with a Coming to America Part 3. And hopefully he comes back and give me a Beverly Hills Cop 4. Like, I'm itching for a Beverly Hills Cop 4. I mean, you can have Kevin Hart in the movie. You can make him the grandson. I mean, I would watch it. I'm giving you ideas, Eddie Murphy. Coming in at number one is a legend, an icon, a man that if he was here today, he would be celebrated like nobody's business. When I say his name, only those who only know the greatest comic comedians know this name when I say it. Phil Hartman. This guy had an accomplished career. This guy came in the 1980s, the early 1990s, and he took the world by storm. Nobody has seen a guy in his late 20s, early 30s come on Saturday Night Live, which took him a while. It took him like almost 4 years to get onto that show. And when he did, between Phil Hartman and between Robert Williams, one of them was going to be cast in an animated cartoon movie by Walt Disney called Aladdin. I mean, both played the genie very well. They chose Robert Williams. It turned out great. He and eventually got to be in some movies. He eventually got into a cartoon. You've heard of it. It's on to this very day called The Simpsons. He was on The Simpsons for like at least 5 or 6 seasons because he gave its biggest television ratings. This cartoon, The Simpsons, was full of life because of him. He played multiple characters on that cartoon. And in fact, his character at one point was going to get his own cartoon spinoff, and then his character was going to be on the like the Simpsons the movie. Just think about if he was alive today. His character would have been the best part about it. And the guy got to do a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jingle All the Way. You know, Sandman was in that movie. I mean, he got to be in that movie with Arnold, and basically, he helped out Arnold because he helped Arnold with his comic comedian chops. Like, he made Arnold look even better than the way Arnold would have looked if you cast another comic comedian. I mean, it was a masterpiece because Sinbad was a part of that, and he got to be in some more movies. Now it's a tragic to what happened to him. I mean, the fact that he was in everybody's movies. You know, he was in a movie with Jim Carrey. You know, he has small roles in there where you didn't even notice he was in those films. He was there with Adam Sandler. He was there with all these guys. And the fact that he was getting onto the same level as Eddie Murphy, and right when Eddie Murphy had the PJs, he was on The Simpsons. It was like pay per view. These two guys were on the same level, battling for television supremacy. And all of a sudden, a tragedy befell us. Eddie Murphy had, you know, some divorce issues going on. All of a sudden, we didn't see Eddie Murphy as much. All of a sudden, Phil Hartman has some personal issues. His wife was messing with the cocaine, and he got blasted and shot in the head. And I remember that all too well. Like, I actually remember that way too well because I was asleep, and then I woke up, and my dad turned the television on, and I heard them say, character of such and such of The Simpsons has passed away, and it became very difficult for me to watch The Simpsons because it just did not have that energy that you had from before. The ratings dipped. Yeah, they replaced the actor, but when you lose an actor of this range, I don't care how many seasons The Simpsons has, I can't watch The Simpsons because it don't have him in it. It don't feel the same. It's like a part of your childhood been taken from you because he struggled to get into Hollywood, and I had aspirations to become an actor. And I kind of looked at his work to see how do you get into acting. Then I went to Westchester High School where there was a teacher who told me he went to Westchester High School. So it's ironic that I mentioned him at number one because I went to the same high school he went to. The fact that he was that funny. The fact that he was that talented. And it's like we didn't even get to see the full range. We didn't get to see the full potential of what he could have done. Like all the movies that you see today, you know, the 40-year-old version, super bad. There's something about 40. He probably would have been in all those movies because he had that kind of talent. And now when you think about it today, you just feel like there's all these good guys. There's just something missing. He's missing. And to this day, I don't think anyone has ever come close to the magnitude that what he brought on screen. You could say Robert Williams comes on that level. You could say Chris Farley comes on that level. Eddie Murphy is right on top of that level. So he's number one. Until then, peace.